Sometimes the quietest gestures echo the loudest in someone's soul. Most people think the hug is over when the arms let go, but that's where the real magic begins. My friends, respond to a hug the right way, and you'll live in their mind rent-free without saying a single word. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a room like a calm storm. No words, no big entrance, just presence. Someone leans in for a hug. It's quick, just a hello. But you don't treat it like a transaction. You treat it like an opportunity, not to cling, not to chase, but to leave a memory. You respond, slowly, intentionally, and somehow, that 3-second moment, it stays with them, like a song they can't get out of their head. You see, we've been fed lies. We're told it's the boldest person, the loudest laugh, the biggest moves that make people unforgettable. But here's the truth. In a world where everyone's trying to be seen, the one who stays calm gets remembered. Not because they begged for attention, but because they knew how to create emotion in silence. And that's what this is about. Stoic energy, emotional precision, subtle power. When someone hugs you and you respond like you know exactly what you're doing, without trying too hard, without forcing anything, you change the whole game. You're not just hugging back. You're imprinting. You're planting a thought. You're saying, feel this, remember this, carry this with you. And they will. Because most people don't know how to respond to a hug. They freeze, they fumble, or they hug back like they're scared to be felt. But you, after this, you'll understand the psychology, the energy, the exact timing to make someone feel something they don't even understand. You'll be the calm in the chaos, the moment they can't stop replaying, the presence they didn't know they craved. Let me break it down like this. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You ever seen a lion walk? It doesn't rush. It doesn't bark. It moves with calm, calculated energy. That's you. That's the vibe you bring into every hug, every moment, every interaction. And the wild part? People feel that. They remember that. They crave that. You don't have to be anyone else. You don't need fake lines or awkward small talk. Just presence, just stillness, just that moment of, I'm here, but I'm not chasing. That alone, that's unforgettable. So when someone hugs you again, whether it's a friend, someone you love, or someone you just met, don't just hug back. Respond like it means something. Respond like you're aware of what you're doing. Respond with purpose. That's when everything changes. Because in that one moment, they won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And that's what makes someone unforgettable. Not noise, not effort, stillness, precision, energy. Write this in the comments right now. My energy leaves a mark. Say it. Claim it. Feel it. And if this hit you, if it opened your eyes just a little, press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting started. Your moment is coming. Be calm, be powerful, be unforgettable. 1. The energy shift, matching their hug with controlled presence. The strongest people are not those who show strength in front of us, but those who win battles we never see. Most people have no idea how powerful a hug can be, not because of how it's given, but because of how it's received. We think the person who initiates the hug holds the power. But my friends, the real shift happens when you understand how to respond. Not with overthinking, not with panic, but with quiet, grounded presence. That's where the energy changes. That's where the memory forms. That's where you become unforgettable. Imagine someone hugs you. It could be a friend, a date, or someone you haven't seen in a long time. It happens quickly. Maybe it's awkward. Maybe it catches you off guard. And in that split second, your mind lights up with fear. You start asking yourself, should I hug tighter? Should I smile? Was that too short? Do I look cold? Should I say something? All of that noise in your head. That's fear trying to manage the moment. But what if I told you, the person who doesn't react out of fear is the one who leaves the biggest impression? You see, we've been lied to. We've been told to be remembered. We have to be louder. We have to do more, say more, give more. But that's not true. Not in real connection. Not in human emotion. In fact, it's the opposite. In a world obsessed with being seen, the ones who leave the deepest mark are the ones who remain calm, controlled, still, the ones who don't rush to fill the silence, who don't panic in intimacy, the ones who can just be there, in the hug, in the moment, without needing to prove anything. Think of yourself like a fire, not a wildfire, not something that burns out fast. No, you're the flame of a candle, steady, warm, intentional. You don't need to shout to be felt. You just glow, and that glow, that's what draws people in. That's what makes them want more. Most people hug like they're checking a box. Quick in, quick out. It's a handshake disguised as affection. But when someone hugs you and you respond with stillness, when you don't cling, when you don't rush, when you just match their energy with quiet confidence, they feel something shift. They won't know what it is, but they'll feel it. Now listen, I know this isn't easy. I know you've been hurt. You've been taught to perform. You've been taught to earn your place in someone's life. You've been told that unless you try harder, they'll forget you. But the truth is, the more you chase, the more forgettable you become. Desperation is noisy. Stillness is unforgettable. And yes, it will be scary at first. You'll want to overdo it. You'll feel the urge to react, to say something, to prove you're present. But don't. Let your calm be the proof. Let your presence do the talking. When you respond to a hug with grounded, centered energy, you're sending a different message. You're saying, I'm here, but I don't need to be needed. That kind of energy is rare. That kind of energy is powerful. And that kind of energy stays with people. They won't remember what you said. They won't even remember what you wore. But they'll remember how you made them feel. Safe, calm, at peace. In a world where everyone's trying to be impressive, you'll be unforgettable by simply being real. Write this in the comments right now. My calm is my power. Say it like you believe it. Say it like you're stepping into it. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs your stillness, your grounded energy. The way you shift a room without saying a word. Show yourself, show the world. And stay with me, because what's coming next will teach you how even your breath in a hug can make them feel something they've never felt before. 2. The Stoic stillness. Why holding back speaks louder than clinging. You don't lose power by holding back. You lose it when you give it away too quickly. Most people have no idea how loud silence can be. They think stillness is weakness, that if you don't react, if you don't jump in and do more, you're cold, distant, uncaring. But let me tell you something real. Stoic stillness speaks in ways desperation never could, especially in a hug, especially in that quiet, vulnerable moment where two bodies connect, and all your insecurities start screaming inside your head. Imagine someone hugs you, and everything in you wants to hold tighter. You want to pull them closer. You want to keep that moment going, because it feels warm. It feels good. It feels like something you don't get often enough. But what if I told you that the power is not in clinging? It's in knowing when not to. What if I told you that the real impact comes from being the one who doesn't rush, doesn't grab, doesn't chase, but just lets it be? We've been trained to think closeness equals value, that if we're not clinging, if we're not showing constant affection, we're doing it wrong. That's the lie. That's the trap. Because what people really remember isn't the person who gave them everything. It's the one who gave them a moment of stillness so pure that they couldn't stop thinking about it. Let me give you a metaphor that hits. Picture a lake, completely still. No ripples, no movement, just calm. The moment you toss a stone into it, everything reacts. Not because the stone was loud, but because the silence before it was so deep, so pure, so untouched, that even the smallest ripple felt powerful. That's you. That's your energy, still, present, magnetic. When you don't react immediately, when you don't overdo it, you create emotional silence. And into that silence, they feel the impact of you. This is where people struggle. Because silence is uncomfortable. Holding back feels like doing nothing. It feels like you're not showing enough. That's fear talking. That's the need for validation creeping in again. But the truth is, you don't need to grab to be felt. You don't need to cling to be close. You don't need to prove that you care. Your presence is already doing the work, but only if you let it. Most people hug like they're trying to fix something, like they're trying to make up for everything they haven't said. They squeeze too tightly. They linger too long, but for the wrong reasons, because they're afraid the moment will end before they're remembered. But the Stoic person, the one who knows their value, they hug with calm. They give just enough warmth. They don't pull away too fast, and they don't cling. They let the moment breathe. That's the difference between a reaction and a response. Reactions are impulsive, desperate. They come from fear. Responses are controlled, intentional. They come from self-trust. And when you trust yourself, you don't need to cling to anything, because you know, if it's real, if it matters, if it's meant, you don't need to hold it too tight. You just need to be there, fully, quietly, completely. You want to leave a mark on someone. Don't rush, don't chase, don't prove, just be. Let them feel your calm instead of your fear. Let them feel your silence instead of your words. Let them feel your stillness instead of your grip. That's what stays with people. That's what makes them pause hours later and wonder, why can't I stop thinking about that hug? Because no one remembers noise. They remember contrast. They remember the rare moments when everything slowed down and they felt safe. Not overwhelmed, not pressured, just seen, just held, just at peace. And you're the one who gives them that without even trying. So next time someone hugs you, don't react. Respond. Be aware. Be still. Don't flinch. Don't fidget. Don't rush to break the silence. Let them feel you. Let them remember what it feels like to be close to someone who isn't afraid of quiet. Someone who knows the real strength isn't in holding tighter, it's in holding steady. Write this in the comments right now. My stillness is strength. Let that be your anchor. Let that be what you show the world. You don't need to do the most. You just need to do it right. And what's coming next will show you how even your breath can pull them closer than words ever could. Stay with me. 3. Breath control, the silent signal that sparks deep connection. The body speaks before the lips ever do, and those who know how to listen never forget what it says. Let's talk about something no one teaches you, but everyone feels: your breath. Not in the dramatic, take a deep breath before a big speech kind of way. No, we're talking about the quiet, unnoticed, barely there rhythm of your breathing, that tells someone everything they need to know about who you are in the middle of a hug. Most people don't even notice it. They think hugs are all about arms and pressure. But let me wake you up to a deeper truth. Your breath is the first thing they feel and the last thing they remember. It's the invisible thread that pulls people closer or silently pushes them away. Now picture this. Someone leans in and hugs you. It's close, it's personal. Your bodies meet, and in that moment, they feel your chest rise. Your breathing is fast, shallow, uneven. They don't say anything, but something feels off. Why? Because even if your words are calm, your breath just exposed your fear, your nervousness, your emotional instability. And now, instead of connection, they feel tension, they feel uncertainty, all because of your breath. But now flip the script. Same hug, same closeness. But your breathing, it's slow, warm, calm, grounded. No racing heartbeat, no panic, just presence. Inhale, exhale, like ocean waves rolling in and out. And just like that, they feel safe. They don't even know why, but their shoulders drop, their body relaxes, their heart opens. You didn't say a word, and yet they felt everything. That's the power of breath control. It's not some mystical trick. It's biology. It's psychology. It's Stoicism in action. Your breath tells the story of what's going on inside you before your mind has a chance to fake it. And when someone's that close to you, they don't hear what you say. They feel what you breathe. Now I get it. Breathing slowly while hugging someone might feel strange at first. You're used to being in your head. You're used to reacting. You might think, won't they notice I'm being weird? Or, what if I seem too serious? But my friend, this isn't about being serious. It's about being present, being in full control of your energy, your emotions, your state. Because here's what no one tells you. The calmer you are, the more intense the connection becomes. Your breath is the silent message that says, I'm not in a rush, I'm not nervous, I'm not desperate, I'm just here. And trust me, people crave that kind of presence. In a world that's constantly gasping for air, meeting someone who breathes like nothing can shake them is unforgettable. Think of a hug like a song. If your breath is chaotic and uneven, it's like background noise, static, distraction. But if your breath is steady, warm and smooth, it's like harmony. It's the baseline of trust, the rhythm of safety, and they'll feel it. Maybe not right away, maybe not consciously, but later that night, lying in bed, they'll remember how you made them feel without even realizing why. That's the magic of breath control. You're not doing anything loud. You're just existing in a way that touches them deeper than words ever could. Now here's where most people mess up. They let the moment control their breathing. But a stoic, a grounded soul, they flip that. They let their breathing control the moment. You ever notice how the calmest people in the room always seem in charge, even when they're quiet? That's not charisma. That's regulation. That's internal peace being projected into every interaction, every touch, every hug. And look, I know slowing down your breath when your heart is racing feels impossible, especially when you're in front of someone you care about. But that's exactly why it matters. Because the person who stays calm when connection is close is the one they remember when distance returns. The breath becomes the bridge. And when done right, it lingers. So the next time you hug someone, don't fake calm. Be calm. Don't rush. Breathe. Let them feel your soul through your rhythm. Let them remember you not by the force of your arms, but by the peace in your breath. Write this in the comments right now. My breath anchors me. Let that be your practice, your presence, your quiet power. Because what comes next will show you how to use your body, the smallest movement, to create emotional gravity that pulls someone in without ever chasing. Stay with me. 4. The head tilt or chin placement, the unspoken language of trust. Not everything that connects people is loud. Sometimes it's the gentle lean, the quiet surrender, the silent moment that says, "I trust you." There's something powerful about body language that no words can ever touch. Most people are obsessed with what to say, what to text, what clever line to drop in a moment of closeness. But my friends, it's not your mouth that makes you memorable. It's your energy. It's the way your body moves in silence. And one of the most underrated moves of all, the slight tilt of your head, the gentle rest of your chin, the way you let yourself lean into the moment, not forcefully, not desperately, but with quiet trust. That one small gesture, that's not just body language, that's emotional depth disguised as instinct. That's how you leave a mark on someone's memory. Picture this, you're mid-hug, arms wrapped, breath controlled, and then you tilt your head just slightly, maybe resting your chin near their shoulder or nestling into that small space between their neck and chest. It doesn't look like much. It's soft, barely noticeable. But to the person on the receiving end, it says everything. That lean, that quiet surrender. That's the moment their guard drops. Because it tells them you feel safe. And when you make someone feel safe to be safe, you instantly become unforgettable. But here's where most people get it wrong. They confuse closeness with control. They try to dominate the moment. They press their head in forcefully. They hold on too tight. They do it to be remembered. But that's not intimacy. That's noise. True closeness doesn't come from trying to be intense. It comes from being available without fear. The head tilt isn't about submission. It's not weakness. It's emotional fluency. It's the body's way of saying, "I trust this space." And let me tell you, trust is the most seductive energy in the world. Not sex, not touch, not even love. It's trust. Because trust is rare, trust is quiet. Trust is felt in the small, unspoken things. Now I know what some of you are thinking, but what if it feels awkward? What if I do it wrong? That fear, that hesitation, it's coming from years of being taught to stay guarded, to never show softness unless it's earned, to never lean in unless you're sure you won't be pushed away. And I get that, I really do. But holding back your warmth doesn't protect you. It starves the connection before it ever has a chance to grow. You've got to understand something deep. People don't fall for perfection. They fall for presence. They fall for how you make them feel in a moment when neither of you is performing. And that tiny head tilt, that subtle placement of your chin, that's your body saying, "I'm here with you, not because I have to be, but because I choose to be." It's a micro move, a soft gesture, but it carries emotional gravity. It's like a feather landing on skin. You barely feel it, but you never forget where it touched you. And that's what leaves people thinking about you, not the words, not the hug itself, but the way you leaned in like home, the way you didn't overthink it, the way you just trusted the moment and let yourself be felt. That right there is the difference between someone who gets remembered for a second and someone who gets remembered for a lifetime. Think about animals. Watch a dog curl into someone's side when it feels safe. Watch how a child leans into their parent when the world feels too loud. These aren't acts of fear. These are acts of deep, natural trust. And the beauty of it? It's effortless. It's real. And it's powerful because of how rare it is. In a world that tells us to toughen up, to stay guarded, to never show too much, You become a force of emotional peace when you simply let your body speak through softness. So the next time you hug someone and you feel the urge to lean in, don't fight it. Trust it. Let your head rest just enough to say, I'm not afraid of this closeness. Let them feel that subtle surrender. That moment where you aren't performing, you aren't calculating, you're just there, fully, quietly, present. That moment, that's the one they'll play back in their mind when they're alone. That's the one they'll crave without even realizing why. Write this in the comments right now. I trust my presence. Let it be your truth. Let it guide your movement. Let it speak for you when words fall short. And stay with me, because what's coming next will show you how even the way you let go after a hug can leave them wondering about you for days. 5. The last touch. Responding with the lingering hand. They won't remember when you let go. They'll remember how you did it. There's a moment, small, fleeting, easy to miss, that happens right after the hug ends. It's the space between connection and distance, between closeness and goodbye. Most people rush through it. They pull away fast. They drop their hands immediately. They act like the moment meant nothing. But the ones who know, the ones who move with intention, they understand that what happens after the hug can leave a deeper imprint than the hug itself. That's where the last touch comes in, the soft glide of your hand across their back, the subtle pause of your palm on their arm, that extra second you hold on, not to cling, not to beg, but to anchor the moment in their memory. It's not dramatic, it's not obvious, but it's unforgettable. Think about it. Most people treat hugs like handshakes, quick in, quick out. No depth, no feeling, no presence. But when you respond with a lingering hand, when your fingers trail off just a moment later than expected, you create something rare, emotional contrast. You flip the script. You turn what was supposed to be routine into something meaningful. Because the truth is, our brains are wired to notice what's different. And when everyone else lets go without thought, but you linger, you pause, you let your energy whisper. That's the moment their nervous system lights up. That's the moment they feel something they can't name. It's like the final note in a song, the part that fades out slowly, gently, leaving you with a feeling instead of a sound. You don't remember every lyric, but you remember how it made you feel. That's what the last touch does. It's the slow fade, the emotional echo, and it haunts people in the best way. They walk away thinking, why can't I stop thinking about that moment? It wasn't the hug. It wasn't the smile. It was the way you didn't let go all at once. It was the way you stayed, silently, without staying. But let's be honest, this part is hard for most people, because the moment after a hug ends feels vulnerable. You're unsure. You're wondering, should I pull away now? Was that too long? Will I look weird if I don't let go? That fear comes from years of being taught to hide your softness, to be polite, to be safe. But politeness doesn't leave an impression. Safety doesn't shake the soul. What does? Presence, intent, bold quietness. When you let your hand stay just a second longer, not because you're desperate, but because you're aware, you break the pattern, and the moment becomes emotional instead of physical. You see, the last touch isn't about being sexy or seductive. It's about being felt. It's about letting them know, without saying a word, this moment mattered. That kind of presence is rare, because most people are in a rush to move on, to hide their emotions, to play it cool. But you're not here to play. You're here to leave a mark, a memory, a feeling they didn't expect to carry with them. Imagine being the person who doesn't just hug, but who finishes the hug with grace, with presence, with power. You pull away slowly, and as you do, your hand doesn't fall like everyone else's. It glides, it brushes, it lingers like the last flame before the candle goes out. And in that final second, you give them something no one else does. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, this moment wasn't ordinary. Maybe it meant more. That's the beauty of it. You don't need a grand gesture. You don't need to make a move. You don't need to say a word. All you need is to stay just long enough to be remembered. The last touch is your silent signature. It's the way you tell their body, you weren't just touched, you were seen. And long after they walk away, long after the conversation ends, they'll still feel that ghost of a moment on their skin. Not heavy, not needy, just there, like a soft memory that refuses to fade. Write this in the comments right now. I leave my mark softly. Let it remind you that real power doesn't push, it lingers. Show the world your control, your stillness, your presence. Because what's coming next will show you how your eyes, just 1 second of eye contact, can say everything you never dared to speak. Stay with me. 6. The power of eye contact after the embrace. The eyes don't lie. They speak what the soul tries to hide. There's something that happens after the hug ends. It's quiet, it's electric. It's the space between release and retreat where most people look away. They drop their eyes, fidget with their hands, laugh nervously, or say something meaningless just to fill the silence. But you, if you want to be remembered, if you want to leave a mark that reaches past skin and settles into the soul, you do something different. You hold their gaze. Not in a creepy, forced way, not in a way that says, I need something from you, but in a way that says, I'm still here. I'm not running. I felt that. That 1 second of eye contact after a hug is where the real connection happens. It's the moment that turns something physical into something emotional, and most people miss it. See, when someone hugs you, they're stepping into your space. They're opening a small door to trust, even if they don't realize it. But when the hug ends, that door doesn't slam shut. It just starts to close. And if you look away too soon, if you rush to move on, you close it all the way. But if you hold their gaze, just for 1 second longer than expected, you keep that door open. You let the moment breathe. You let the tension hang. And in that tension, you create something powerful, something unforgettable. It's like the silence right after thunder, the moment where everything pauses, everything listens, everything feels. But let's not pretend it's easy. Eye contact is vulnerable, it's exposing, it's raw. And for a lot of people it's terrifying, because in that gaze, everything is visible, your feelings, your nerves, your truth. And for some, that's too much. They've spent their whole lives hiding behind words, behind distractions, behind fast exits and polite smiles. But you, if you want to shift someone's energy, if you want to be the one they think about when the room is empty, you have to be willing to stay in that gaze, to not run from it, to let your eyes say what your mouth never could. You ever notice how in movies, the most romantic or intense moments don't come from dialogue? They come from silence. Two people looking at each other, breathing, waiting, feeling everything and saying nothing. That's not fiction, that's real. That's how human beings connect. Not with noise, but with presence. And the eyes are where that presence lives. When someone sees that you're not afraid to look, not afraid to be seen, they feel something they don't feel often: honesty, wholeness, clarity, and whether they're conscious of it or not, they'll want more of it. Now here's what separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. Most people are too quick. They look away the moment it gets real. But you don't flinch. You don't chase, but you don't run either. You just stay. 1 second, 2 seconds, maybe 3. Not with a stare, but with calm, open stillness. And in that stillness, you give them something no one else does. Space. Space to feel. Space to be seen. Space to connect. And in that space, the memory is made. Think of eye contact like a mirror. Most people are afraid to look too long because they're scared of what they'll see. Not in you, in themselves. But the ones who are ready, the ones who are open, will feel it hit them. And they won't know why. They'll walk away wondering what just happened, why they felt so much in so little time, why a simple hug followed by a silent look could throw off their whole emotional balance. It's not the words. It's not even the touch. It's that second of stillness, where nothing was said, but everything was understood. That's why it's so powerful. That's why it works. Because eye contact is the closing line to the story your energy just told. It's the signature on the emotional contract. It's the final moment that says, this wasn't just physical, this was real. And once they've looked into your eyes like that, even for a heartbeat, they'll carry that image with them, in quiet moments, in crowded rooms, in the stillness of their own thoughts. And they'll wonder why it shook them so deeply. Write this in the comments right now. My gaze speaks truth. Let it be a reminder that your silence holds power, your stillness commands respect, and your eyes, when steady and fearless, can say more than any voice ever could. Show them who you are without a single word. Show them you don't need to chase to be unforgettable. And stay with me, because what comes next will show you how to use no words at all, to leave them wondering if they ever truly knew you. 7. The whisperless. Goodbye, letting the silence do the talking. Sometimes the most powerful goodbye is the one that doesn't need to be said at all. This is where most people ruin everything, the moment right after the hug ends, the last few seconds before walking away. They feel the silence creeping in, and instead of owning it, they rush to fill it. They blurt out a joke, force a smile, or say something they don't even mean, just to break the tension. But here's the truth. No one tells you. If the connection was real, if the energy was deep, if the moment had weight, then silence is the loudest thing you can leave behind. You don't need a clever line. You don't need a goodbye wrapped in charm. You just need to hold that space and walk away like you meant every second of it. Because silence, it lingers, it echoes, it sticks in the mind like a song with no lyrics, mysterious, haunting, unforgettable. Most people don't know how to hold silence. They panic in it. They confuse it with awkwardness. But silence after intimacy is not awkward. It's sacred. It's that rare space where everything settles, where the energy has time to sink in, and when you master the whisperless goodbye, you become the kind of person people can't stop thinking about. Not because you said something magical, but because you didn't need to. Picture this. You just hugged someone. It was deep, intentional, warm. You pulled away slowly. Your breath was calm, your presence steady, your eyes locked for just a second longer than expected. And now comes the part they're used to, the small talk, the forced line, the polite wrap-up. But instead, you give them nothing. Not out of coldness, not out of distance, but out of presence, out of awareness. You let the moment sit. You let it speak for itself. And then you walk away. That's it. No words, no performance, just presence, just peace. What you just did was disrupt their pattern. You broke the habit. You denied their brain the usual closure it's used to. And that right there, that creates curiosity. That makes them wonder. That makes them feel. because your silence wasn't empty, it was full of intention. And the mind loves to replay anything it doesn't fully understand, so they replay you, again and again, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. Because most people are noise. You were stillness. Most people chase. You walked away. Most people talk too much. You let the moment breathe. It's hard though, isn't it? That urge to say something, anything, to wrap it up neatly so it doesn't feel too real, too exposed. We've been taught that silence means disconnection, that if we don't say goodbye, we didn't care. But that's a lie. A big one. Because in truth, silence is the language of people who are confident enough to let their energy speak. People who don't need to explain their impact. People who trust that if something mattered, it's already been felt, already been heard, already been known without needing to be said. You've probably felt it before. Someone hugged you, and as you pulled away, they said something like, "That was nice," or "I needed that," or "We should do this more often." And even though the words were fine, something about them pulled you out of the moment. It made it feel smaller, like it had to be translated to be understood. But the ones who just pause, breathe, and walk away, those are the ones that stay with you, because they didn't break the moment. They let it stay alive in your mind. That's what the whisperless goodbye does. It gives the other person permission to sit in the feeling without rushing to label it. It tells them, without saying a word, that you're not afraid of closeness. You're not afraid of impact. You're not afraid of being felt. That is rare, and rare gets remembered. So the next time you find yourself at the end of a powerful hug, don't rush, don't speak, don't ruin the moment by trying to make it easier. Let it be. Let the silence close it the way words never could. And then walk away like the storm you are. Quiet, heavy, unforgettable. Write this in the comments right now. My silence leaves echoes. Let that be your truth. Let that be your signature. You don't need a speech to be felt. You don't need a quote to be remembered. You just need to master the art of saying nothing, because nothing done right becomes everything. And stay with me, because what comes next will show you how your presence alone, without touch, without words, without even looking back, can become the very thing they crave.